Hey everyone, Cannibal here. Today I'm going to take you through something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, which is how mobile games uh, try to influence you in the gameplay and how you interact with them. And I'm going to use Lords Mobile as the example for many of these things, but it applies to a lot of mobile games. And Lords Mobile is just the one that I play the most and know the most about. So I'll use it as the example for a lot of this. But I really want to go into kind of how online games and mobile games architect their software to try to get you to spend more money and to spend more time on their games. So with that, let's get into it. And I apologize for using slide format. I know that I can use the video editors as well, but this is just faster for me and easier for me than doing this all in the video editor. So hopefully this gets the points across that, and you can benefit from it. First off, a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a behavioral science expert. I know that what we're going to present here is really superficial and is really just scratching the surface of what happens in the design of online and mobile games. But I hope that it gives you the basis for maybe doing a little more research yourself and understanding better what's happening as well. So if you find it interesting and you want to understand more and dive in deeper, certainly you can. And I just note that that companies that produce video games and mobile games spend a lot of effort to try to get you hooked on their games. So we're really just scratching the surface of some of these techniques and ways in which they do that. So first thing we need to understand is this notion of persuasive technology, and this is something that has been really brought up from early understanding of how people, how their psychology works and how their thought processes work, and what kind of behavior they engage in when being influenced. And so it goes way back to first people trying to sell something to the next person, way back in time. But what we're going to talk about in this video is really more about the digital communities and what happens in technology and mobile games and e-commerce and that sort of thing. So really more of a modern kind of take on this. So first thing I'll do is define what I think it is. So I'm going to define persuasive technology to be digital interactions designed to exploit cognitive biases or common behavioral patterns. So we all think about things in different ways, but in many ways, we are the same, and we have tendencies in thought patterns and the way that we perceive things. And behavioral scientists and psychologists have been researching this for many decades and have a very good understanding of the things that motivate us and create habits and allow you to be influenced and all of that. These are the things that all of this research leads to the ability to try to influence you when you're playing a mobile game. So, since we're talking about the technology world in particular, I want to take you back to sort of 1984 and the beginning of what I think is a push towards really trying to persuade people in persuasive technology. And the book published by Robert Cialdini is Psychology of Persuasion, which is Influence is the name of the book. And he really laid out the groundwork for a lot of the things we see today, whether it's in e-commerce, social media, or mobile gaming. He really set the groundwork for that with his 6 principles of influence. So here are the big ones. So consistency. So wanting to do the same thing to be consistent to have a nice clean kind of pattern. Scarcity, wanting to obtain something that is hard to get because it gives you that little rush that you've got something valuable. Um, Consensus or social proof, the desire to follow the lead of others. So whenever you see something like this many people bought this or that, or a 5-star rating, or things like that, that's all about social proof and consensus. Reciprocity, when you're given something, you kind of want to also give back. So if you're given free shipping, or you're given some sort of prize, then it makes you want to give back something. Authority, so the desire to do what an expert says is right. And similarity, the people like us in whatever way we decide to slice it, are the people that we tend to like. So these are the 6 really core principles to how you can influence people in marketing, in sales, and in technology in general. So, but this comes with kind of the typical ethics challenges, and Robert Cialdini recognized this very early on, as you recognize in a lot of technology. Just to think about something like a baseball bat, right? A baseball bat can be used to hit the winning home run in a baseball game, or to hit your neighbor over the head. So technology is kind of like that. It can be used for good or used for bad, and it really depends on the intent, right? And he says that here in this quote. The difference between influence and manipulation is intent. So who is wielding that influence or manipulation is really they're in control of whether that is manipulation, trying to get you to do it for ill purposes, or its influence trying to align their goals with yours. So the next person I want to talk about a little bit is BJ Fogg, and he sort of took a lot of what Cialdini had done and took it a little bit further in the technology space by founding the Stanford Persuasive Technology Lab in 1998. That's now known as the Behavior Design Lab at Stanford University. He really pioneered a lot of the thinking around what motivates people with technology, and how you can influence people's behavior and thoughts through technology. He also was clear that there are lots of challenges and ethical issues associated with this if you're not very careful. But it should be noted that a lot of the graduates from his department in the lab, and his students went on to work at social media companies, or even found social media companies, work in the gaming industry, work in the online advertising industry. So there's a the, these this is the graduates of this program were all throughout Silicon Valley, and then spread out through a lot of very influential kind of technology companies. And then going on from that, you got really an explosion of personalization and e-commerce kind of technologies that use these methods to influence buyers online, people who are traveling. So you'll notice all sorts of ways in which Amazon or Hotels.com or Bookings.com will use these type of nudging to get you to do something. So and going back to social proof and scarcity and urgency, leaderboards, product recommendations, all of these things are part of our everyday exposure when we're online and interacting with any sort of e-commerce or social media, anything like that online these days. And this is, as I said before, this is really just scratching the surface. The scientists today have studied the brain and cognitive biases a lot in recent years. And if you're interested in that sort of stuff, there's a great Wikipedia page that will lay out the cognitive bias codex, which just goes through over 180 different biases that we have, and will explain to you these sort of thought traps that you can fall into. And it's really interesting to look at some of them and ask yourself, hey, when I'm thinking about a certain type of problem, am I falling into one of these traps? And knowing yourself and knowing how you think and the frequent pitfalls can be really helpful in just becoming a better thinker and getting through some of these challenges that face us all on a daily basis. Here's just an example of Amazon, and just so you can see here, this thing where uh, several of these methods are being used on a single page to show you. So you got consistency. Hey, I purchased this twice before. Consensus, social proof. I got the 5-star rating from 11 people, or for this one is a 3.5 stars. You got reciprocity. I'm giving. You're going to get free shipping. Get it free delivery by tomorrow. And then you get scarcity. Oh, there's only 9 left in stock. I better get this. So this kind of shows you how all of this stuff is put in front of you to kind of get you to do something. So now let's talk about the real subject I wanted to get into, which is really mobile gaming and how that's being used, and how these ways of persuading you is used in mobile gaming. So I love this quote from Simon Sinek. If you ever look at some of his TED talks or some of his online videos, he's a great thinker in sort of business leadership and all of that. But he has an interesting quote here that says, "Hey, if you want to get people to do something and get the dopamine going, just every time you pick up your phone, you're gonna get that little dopamine hit that keeps you addicted and gets you going. That as soon as smartphones hit the market, uh, we all kind of latched on to this constant easy thing we can just grab and get a little bit of a pleasure boost from, and that's I think very true of most people today. So the mobile gaming market, the revenue, is an interesting thing. In the last 10 years, it's gone from about 35 billion US dollars all the way up to almost 100 billion US dollars. So it's grown dramatically just in the last 10 years. And it's a large percentage of the overall App Store revenue that comes in to the major app stores like Apple and Android, Google Play kind of app stores. So it's a big business. So before we get into kind of what happens in mobile gaming, I think it's important to understand, and it was just mentioned in that quote from Simon Sinek, the dopamine hit. So what is a dopamine hit? And dopamine is both a hormone and a neurotransmitter, meaning that if it's released into the blood, it's a hormone, but it's also a neurotransmitter that it works in the brain and is associated with pleasure and reward that occurs anytime the brain experiences something that it enjoys. And mobile games, video games in general, but mobile games really try to create a lot of small dopamine events to get you hooked, to get you to keep you interested in the game, and that's really a powerful kind of effect that comes from the use and the play of these games. but it should be noted that it has the potential to create abuse or addiction as well. So you can become kind of addicted to this dopamine. How does that happen? Well, anytime you get something like a prize, say you get a good drop on one of the packs that you open, you'll get a dopamine hit. Anytime you get you achieve a ranking or get something you have an achievement in the game that and you win something, that's a dopamine event. Every time you engage in a battle in Lord's Mobile, and your army is walking to that castle, and the castle hits that other castle. The army hits that other castle. At that very moment, you're thinking to yourself, "Am I going to burn it?" And then you see the flames come up, and immediately, boom, dopamine hit. You're gonna get your dopamine hit there. This is what war games in particular do, is they get you going on that kind of war activity. So let's talk about how games like Lords Mobile are really going to the extremes to get you hooked on their games. And here's a great quote from Tristan Harris. Tristan Harris, if you've ever seen a movie called The Social Dilemma, he's one of the main characters in that. He's a design ethicist. He used to work at Google, and he understands very well this persuasive technology and how people are gaming your attention. He's got a great quote here. It says, if you're an app, if you want to keep people hooked, you just turn yourself into a slot machine, right? Absolutely. So the Lord's Mobile has taken that literally in the game now. You got slot machines. So this is not by accident. I think it's important to realize that it's all by design. Everything within these games is very well thought out. They have people thinking through the science of how to keep you motivated, how to keep you engaged, how to keep your time on the game as high as level, at a high level, as high as possible. How to get you habituated to it, and how to keep you logging in all the time. All of that is very much engineered. It's not by chance. So let's talk about some of these biases that drive this. So um, first thing is in war games in general, setting up clans or guilds is a great way to kind of tap into this in-group bias kind of thing, which is a tendency to favor members of your own group. So by having a war game and having a group of comrades that you're fighting with, you're creating this in-group bias where your group is the one that you really want to identify with, and everybody outside of it is the enemy, and is something that's going to motivate you. Then there's things that are more subtle, like the Zeigarnik effect, which is that they want you to engage in the building of things and the completion of things, because they know that there's an effect, this effect. When things are kind of unfinished, it eats at you, it bugs you. So you really want to try to finish, something that you're building, like a cup here, or you want to level up your artifact to the highest level, because you get a rush if you feel like you've completed something. I mentioned scarcity before, but that's a big driver of behavior. If you feel like something is scarce, like you're going to get, gold main, or you're going to get some prize where there's only a few being given out, that's really going to motivate you, because you're going to want to achieve that thing you get, that is rare, that only a few people get. It makes you feel like your status is higher if you can get to that thing that is in short supply. Social comparison bias. Okay, so this is whenever you have a leaderboard or ranking, this is really about determining your social personal worth based on how you stack up against the others. So, in the game, they exploit that by having leaderboards. So you have a leaderboard because you're comparing yourself against somebody else, and that's a huge motivator because hey, I want to be higher than the number 16 guy, and I'm gonna try to beat them out. That creates an effect where you're just going to constantly want to achieve that higher and higher ranking. Urgency. So you see this all over the place in Lords Mobile, right? The everywhere you look, you see a timer. Oh, time's running out. Time's running out. Got to use your buy one get one free coupon, or you gotta. There's only 3 days left on the Tycoon challenge, or it's all over the place within there. That's really urgency is one of the biggest motivators because you've got a time limit and you know that there's a countdown clock and it's like a bomb that's going to go off. You gotta figure out whether you're gonna cut the red wire or the blue wire. So this is a big motivator. Okay, then we've got sunk cost fallacy. Sunk cost fallacy comes into play, especially when you're spending a lot of money on a game like Lords Mobile, where you have to decide whether or not to spend more. Maybe you're building a champ piece that you really don't need anymore because maybe there's another piece that's doing the job, but you're kind of halfway completed. So you think, well, I'm already halfway there. Maybe I should just complete it. When in fact, the rational thing to do is to think about the future and think, well, I'm not really going to need that in the future because this other piece that I'm building is going to be even better. So maybe I should put my effort into that rather than completing something I know is going to not have as much value, just because it's already half done. Better to just let the half done stay half done. Then there's loss aversion. So this is when you get into streaks. So people have a tendency to not want to break a streak because it's painful, and uh, it's the pain is greater than the pleasure of starting a new streak. Like starting a new streak doesn't feel good, but and breaking a streak that has been going for a long time, that really hurts. So they know that, and a lot of these sort of consecutive logins and all that sort of thing is meant to keep you on the streak. So that's some of the again, just scratching the surface. Those are some of the ways in which you're influenced or manipulated, however you want to look at it. But there are some things that are just even just more misleading, I would say. So let's just talk about a few of those. So anytime you see a bar in Lords Mobile, I've just come and probably everybody has just kind of ignore it because it's not really based on proper segments. So when you look at something like a bar that starts at 30, 100, 200, but they're drawn in it to make them look like equal segments, but they are dramatically longer to get there because they're harder to get at the end. That's kind of it's misleading because at the back of your mind, you're kind of thinking that you're reaching as a progress bar. You're kind of having equal segments along the way, but what you don't realize is it's progressively harder and harder to get to the end of that progress bar. The same is true of the lucky spins. If you ever look at the lucky spins and you think, oh, look at all these pie slices in Lucky Spin. If I spin that wheel, they're all the same size, so I must just be able to hit a golden main every once in a while, right? No. So the Lucky Spins, each one of these things that are on there have different drop rates, different rates of occurrence. So spinning that wheel, the chances of getting that gold main drop is really really low compared to the chances of getting the gray the gray mains, as an example. Okay, then there's things that kind of happen as a result of kind of either neglect by IGG or deception by users of the products. I'll thank a little shout out here to Worthy Prince for pointing this out in some of his videos. He's pointed out rightly that the artifact events typically have at the top of the leaderboards people that have no business being at the top of the leaderboards. They're bots that have a bunch of artifacts to spend because they've been saving them up since the beginning of time, and they end up showing up at the top and pushing out honest players that could be really that really want to get those prize artifacts, but will never be able to because they're getting pushed out by these people who don't need them and probably don't even care if they have them. And then there's also the sponsored or syndicate accounts, IGG or IGG investors, however you want to look at it. People close to IGG used to sponsor accounts. It's unclear whether they're doing that these days. I don't know, but I know that there are lots of accounts that are shared by people that are in syndicates that hire pilots to do the driving of the account, and so you get this kind of unequal effect of people that are playing the game. I think as designed, where it's one person running the account versus a hired pilot, experienced running an account paid for by maybe dozens or hundreds of people, and that's a kind of a different experience. And also on the right there, you see there's also just crazy, strange things happening within the game. About a couple of years ago, I noticed this pack buying activity in a kingdom I was in, where a bunch of these really small castles. They I think they were level 25 castles, but they were super weak kind of might castles, and they were buying just tons and tons of Dark Magister, $100 packs. They were buying 11K heroes to these accounts that had no business having an 11K hero. And I was just scratching my head trying to figure out why they were doing it. It was a Chinese guild, and they were just buying tons and tons of these packs. And the only explanation I can come up with is that this was some sort of nursery for Titan accounts, that they were building some Titan accounts and that they would eventually sell them or something like that. Any way that you slice that, it's just a weird sort of situation. Okay, so getting into what you need to do to sort of protect yourself. So I hope this video kind of gives you a better understanding of how games are trying to influence you, and you should the awareness of that is really the first step. And I hope this video has helped you kind of understand better that all of this is by design. And if you understand that and you think that this might be affecting you, you should set time and budget limits and make sure that you're not falling prey to manipulation. That it is really that it is influence and not manipulation. That your goals and what you want to achieve is in alignment with whatever time or money you spend with these games. And I think there's a special consideration here for children. In China, there's very, very strong restrictions to how much time children can spend on video games in general, and how much money can be spent on them. And it is far stricter than what other countries do. Also, and I think part of that is they have recognized gaming addiction as being a very serious thing, and I think maybe much um, less diagnosed in Western countries than in some Eastern countries. So it's something that to watch out for. So really consider reducing those gameplay hours with children, and then I think finally just remind yourself frequently that it's a game. It shouldn't feel like a job. If it's feeling like a job because you're sort of inundated by the all of the techniques to try to game your attention. If it feels like you're under a lot of pressure because of that, then step back and have a look at what's going on. If you're interested in more about this subject and you want to get into understanding how this all works in more detail, I'll just put here a few books that I think are well regarded and will help you kind of understand better how this all works in the gaming industry, but also in other in e-commerce and other type of interactions with digital technology. And I'll leave you with something from Marcus Aurelius, just to say that you have power over your mind. Take advantage of that, and think about what you're doing, and be cognizant of the ways in which people are trying to manipulate you and use you as their game rather than the other way around. So I'll leave you with that, and thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this useful. If you have, please like and subscribe and share. That will help motivate us to do more videos like this. Thank you very much.